Hey guys, welcome to Coaching with Chris. Today, I have a special guest, Russell Petty, CEO of Grow Mortgage. I'm pretty excited. He has a really cool story. I thought about introing him about his story, but I think it's better if he tells his story than if I intro in. So guys, welcome into Coaching with Chris, Russell Petty. How are you?
Hey, good. Thanks so much for having me on. Appreciate it.
Now, do you like to be called Russ or Russell?
Doesn't matter to me. Call me Bob if you want to. Either one's fine.
Right. Well, that would be weird.
Yeah.
So, I'm just, really, I say, I'd get to know Russell a little bit. I've talked to you, we've communicated, but I really don't know Russell. So for everybody, I'm going to get to know Russell, but so are you going to get to know Russell. You started in this mortgage business. I'm so curious, as a teenager working on Encompass. So walk us through your mortgage career, because it is so interesting. And then you're pretty blunt about it. I started one company, it didn't work out, and I came back, gave it a try, but learned from all my other lessons, and then started this amazing company called Grow Mortgage for everybody. But kind of give us your little journey through this mortgage piece and how it leads up into Grow Mortgage.
Yeah, my goodness. So I was a teenager. I was on a path to get into IT. That's what I wanted to do. I had over 20 IT certifications when I was 16. So I was fixing, when your house burned down, I would get the computer out of the house. I would get all the data off your hard drive, give it back to you, doing that for insurance companies. So it was a lot cheaper to fix a TV, fix a computer, data recovery, that kind of thing, than it was to replace it. So they would contract me. I would go out and do that. And I just didn't enjoy that at all. I was a dumb teenager, as we all are, or most of us are. And I was like, I'm going to quit. So I quit, and I was putting my last $7 in my 98 Firebird with the check engine light on. And I was pumping gas. Glassdoor pops up on my phone. It's like, we need an IT guy. And I'm like, done. So I called the guy. I said, I don't know really anything about mortgages, but I know a lot about IT. I can be your IT guy. He said, well, our internet's down and it's the last day of the month. Can you come help? I'm like, I'm on my way right now. So I drive over, I reboot their router. It's like 12 guys. I was employee number 12, I think. Reboot the router and come out of the closet. And you would think that, I just saved the world. They're like, oh my goodness, internet's back up. Let's go. Can you start Monday? This is on a Friday. So I go in, I start on Monday, and I didn't have an internet cable on my computer. So I'm trying to get all that set up, and I turn around. We were in kind of it's not a rough part of town anymore. It was a little bit of a rough part of town. I thought this guy came up. It's in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Yep. Charlotte. Okay.
Yep. And I thought this guy had snuck in, homeless guy had snuck in. And I was like, hey man, you got to leave. And he's like, okay. So he leaves. And then maybe 2 hours go by, and they're like, hey, has anybody seen this guy? I'm like, what does he look like? And they told me. I was like, oh shoot. I did see that guy. I asked him to leave. What is his title? And they're like, he owns the company. And I was like, oh, I'm fired. So they call him. He's like, kid told me to leave. He sounded really serious. So I just, I went home. He's a character. Love this guy. So he ends up coming back, and he comes up to me, and I'm like, yep, I'm getting let go. And he goes, I like the tenacity. He's like, let's get you set up. He's like, first thing I want you to do is create a spreadsheet of what everybody's made this year. I'm like, no problem. I can do spreadsheets all day. So he pulls my desk next to his. So I'm sitting beside this guy, and I'm trying to make this spreadsheet. I'm trying to figure out loan amounts and what comp is. And I didn't know. I didn't know what a mortgage was. So I'm sitting there working all this stuff out for 2 hours. And I turn to him, I promise, I'm already not off to a great start. I promise I know spreadsheets, but it says this guy has made just this much money. That seems insane to me. And he's like, yeah, that's right. And I was like, how do I do this? I'm like, that is I grew up with not a lot of money. And I'm like, that is insane. I'm like, how do I do that? He goes, you're not old enough to do that. And I was like, well, teach me. So by some miracle, he was willing to do that. We took a Scotsman's Guide, top originator, his 20 years experience. I sat beside him. He taught me, how to sell and how to do all these things. And I ended up leaving that company when I was in my early 20s. And I thought, I'm going to open my own company for, some reasons that were going on there. And so I opened up my own company. So I opened up Grow Home Loans, and I opened it up with a business partner. The partnership didn't go super well. So I ended up not doing well with that company. I was spending a lot of money on leads that weren't panning out. I tried to flip over to purchase, doing mailers and stuff. That's what the shop that I originally was with. We only did refis. We didn't do any purchases. So rates went up, And it was right after Trump got elected, and I'm like, this is not great. Rates are up. They are no longer dropping the MI, because around that time, like Obama had come out and said they were dropping MI to 0.55 from 0.85 or 0.35, I believe, dropping it to. And I had all these loans. I'm like, this is going to be great. None of that came to fruition. So I'm like, this is not going well. So I switched over to purchase, and I'm early 20s. I didn't have a beard at the time. I looked like I was 12 years old. Going into these real estate offices, I didn't know what earnest money was. They didn't know what due diligence was. It was like starting over. So I would go in, and my whole value add pitch was, where are you getting your business? And they would say, at the time, Zillow leads. And I would say, that sounds great. Rather than splitting with you, why don't I double it? Like, you're spending $5K a month, I'll put another $5K with it. We'll still split it down the middle so it's compliant, but let me double your business. Let's work together. And what I found with that is the team leads loved me, but the actual boots on the ground agents that were selling these loans didn't care at all about that. They just knew that they were getting more leads. They were happy, and they were going to send them their own lender. So, I was spending all this money, and times got tough. So I ended up sleeping in my office. My car got repossessed in a real estate meeting. I watched it like it was glass behind us in the coffee shop. I'm telling her, I don't do this loan, because all I did at that point was conventional FHA VA, 640 or 680 credit, depending on, what time period we were at during this. And that's all I would do. And she was telling me about this USDA client. I was like, no, I don't do that, watching my car get repossessed behind her. So it was a little awkward after that, because I had to Uber home. I had to open a credit card. One got declined. That one luckily got approved, and waiting on the Uber in the parking lot. She's like, what is this guy doing? It was a mess. I slept in my office, and I put a relentless amount of inputs in, like, of trying to figure it out. So I just didn't leave. Like, I stayed there. I would do all my work till I fell asleep at my desk. And then I would wake up. I was in a tiny office. It was Regis. I asked them, I was like, what do you have for $200 a month? They're like, we got this. And it was, you had to push the desk into the hallway to get out, and there were no windows. And I stayed in there for just months and months and months, doing the inputs, reaching out to people, trying to figure out how to do purchase. And when I finally cracked that code, I went from, I think, 2 loans in my pipeline to just over 30 in like a 45-day span. And, I was like, this is what it was. So from there, I just started closing business. I went retail for a little while, right when COVID hit, just looking for operational support. I didn't have any. It was just me. I was processing, I was doing everything. So I ended up selling that company and going on to retail for a little bit. And while I was retail, I learned like the back end. I learned capital markets. I learned like what actually happens with MSRs, how do these loans get packaged? How do they get sold? How are they securitized? I learned the front to back. And that was very eye-opening. And I love that company to death. The owner, Hash Sagafi, to this day is probably one of the best people I've ever met. We talk all the time. Super helpful for me. And, I just needed to build something that was my own. I needed to be building it for me. And I told him that. He was super gracious about it, which is rare in the mortgage business. It's usually, you're leaving, great, we cut you off a week ago.
You're an enemy.
So gracious with me, and opened up Grow Mortgage. And the ideal behind it was wholesale, true wholesale, with retail ops and support. And when I opened it, I'm thinking to myself, why does no one do that? And then I opened it, and I'm like, that's why nobody does that. So, retail has higher margin for a reason. But we figured it out. We've got, a good ops base. We've got setup. We've got docs. We've got closers. We've got, not underwriters, but we've got, we do have one, but she doesn't underwrite. We've got processing. Everything's in-house. And we do it not even on a 275 margin, great commission to the LOs, full benefits. So we figured that out, but that was kind of the mission in opening up the company, was true wholesale, like full broker with retail ops and support.
Yeah, I love that. A lot of people went to the broker model and then went back to retail because of operations and staff, which you've already picked out. You already saw it. Probably one of the reasons why you went back to retail short term, which was because of that reason. What do you feel like a loan officer coming into, today is we're in the middle of September. We are coming into a really good period of some refinances. We have all the momentum headed into our direction. But what are the 1, 2, 3 things that you feel like an LO needs to be able to maximize into this market? And I'm gearing this question, Russell, I'll let you go anywhere you want to go with it, but maybe it's the back end support of operationally is so important, because there's only so many hours and so much of us time that to capitalize on this market, I feel like you need more. But what did you learn through that period of time of designing this ops to get more? Maybe that's the better question.
Yeah. So I always tell my LOs, like, you run a business under a business. And it doesn't matter. Like, you could be a direct seller to Fannie and Freddie. You still run a business under Fannie and Freddie. Fannie and Freddie are under conservatorship. They run a business under the United States government. Like, everybody's under somebody, right? So you have to look at it that way, and you have to figure out a few things. You need to figure out what you make an hour. So you have to take your actual net income due last year, due year to date, divide it by 2,080. That's what you make an hour. If you can hire that out for less, hire
Yeah.
that out, because you're going to go spend that time getting more business. I think a lot of loan officers right now, they're looking for shiny object, and they don't know why them. And that's why they want shiny object. Every loan officer I talk to under a certain volume threshold, which is higher than you would think it is, even some that are, 20 and $30 million producers, I ask them why them. And it's a variation of, I have great rates, I answer my phone, I have all these products. If I put my name on a pre-approval letter, it's going to close. Of course it is. That is the bare minimum of your job. That's it.
Yeah.
That's like telling somebody they should buy a car because it's got 4 wheels on it. Yes, but why your car, and why from you? So the first thing I think a loan officer needs to do to really stand out and do well in this market upcoming is define an avatar. Who do you help? How do you help them? And why on earth should they work with you over everyone else? And once you have that, and say no to everything else, say no to absolutely everything that is not that, and you'll become known for it, excuse me. If you go in and you're telling everybody the same thing everyone else is telling them, they will never remember you. So the first thing you need to do is define who you're going to help, why they should work with you, and how on earth you help them. A process on paper, because if you don't have that process on paper, you don't have a process. And you'll realize how much of a process you don't have when you start putting it on paper, because it doesn't get followed and it doesn't exist. So the first thing is define who, why, how. Once you have that, now start tracking your inputs. If you don't know exactly what it's going to take to get the next deal, you will hold on to every deal you can get. For me, I will let that deal go because I know it's not, ooh, I hope I get another one. It's, this is what I need to do to get the next one. And I know what tasks those need to be. It's going to be different. Everyone asks me, well, what are they? It's going to be different. Like, my avatar, who I work with, the way that I outreach, the way that I am on the phone, it's going to be very different than if Chris is calling them, or if some other loan officer is calling them. You need to figure out what it is for you and why. So the second thing is start tracking everything throughout your day and add consistency. Because what I find a lot with loan officers is they'll go in and they'll do a lot of inputs to go get business, and then they get stuck in their files because they either don't have ops, they don't use their ops that they do have, or they don't trust them, they're not very good. So then they jump into those files and then they're not prospecting anymore. If you're not prospecting, you're doing it wrong. You have to maximize the amount of time you're prospecting. But it's not just prospecting. You have to maximize the prospecting on the right things. I say this all the time, like, you could go knock on people's car windows in the Walmart parking lot, and eventually you will get someone to do a loan with you. Or you could call people, or you could DM people, text people, email people, go to open houses. You could do that's a higher leverage activity. And depending on who your avatar is, you're going to have a higher leverage activity that you could go do. So you just want to make sure that you're pulling the right lever, because a lot of loan officers don't track anything. So they're scared to change anything because they don't know where the business is actually coming from. And I guarantee you 90% of what you're doing is not producing any sort of business. But you don't know that. You don't know where your business is coming from. So you're afraid to change anything. And that's why you get stuck. And a lot of loan officers do this because they'll do the actions, the activities, and then they stop because they either get comfortable or they get drug into their loans. And that's where you need operations. So first thing is define an avatar of who, why, how. Put it on paper. Then,
wait, Russell, before you go, because I want everybody to catch what you just said, which is absolutely dead on, which afraid to change and to track everything, right? Like, those two things are your first step. And I think you're right. I think there's a lot of loan officers that are afraid to change. And I think there's a lot of loan officers that are just like, it will work eventually.
Yeah,
it did. It did work.
In 21, it worked. Why is it working now?
It worked.
Yeah.
And I go, but it's not now.
Yeah.
That is so good, Russell. Really good. And then, like, simply tracking every single thing, where your leads are coming from and how many leads you're getting and what's your conversion rate. Like, I think you're spot on that. So now we're heading into knowing who you are, right? You're tracking the ability and willingness to change. And now you're transitioning into having this support team, or what's next?
So the support team, I think, is kind of the foundation of all of that. But in order to know what support you actually need, is the third thing. And that's where that comes in. Instead of just tracking the top of funnel, And this is where a lot of people stop. They track how many leads they got. Leads is irrelevant. Closings are what we want. We don't get paid on leads, right? So, I mean, some of you might, but I don't get paid on leads, so I don't track it. Here's what you want to do. How many times do I have to pull this lever to get a lead? Meaning, how many times do I have to DM? How many times do I have to call? How many times do I have to email? How many open houses do I have to do? How, of each action that I do, how long does it take me? And how many leads do I get from it? Once I get the lead from that action, you should be tracking each of these funnels separately. How many times do I have to do it? So let's say it's DMs. If I send 100 DMs, how many of them actually respond? To raise that metric, all you have to do is tweak your message. I can go back and show you some of my messages from 2014. They're this long about my underwriting turn times. Don't do that. Very short, very, very, very short, to the point on how you can help them. It's just like making content. Make it for them, not for you. So you track that. If I send 50, how many respond? Of the ones that respond, how many do I book a meeting with? Of the ones I book a meeting with, how many show up? Of the ones that show up, how many actually are qualified to work with me? Because you should work with everyone. Of the ones that are qualified to work with me, how many are receptive to my value offer and book a second meeting? It's 3 to get a true partnership at least. Once you book meeting 2, how many show up? How many go to meeting 3? Book meeting 3, how many of those show up? Once they've done meeting 3, what is your process of follow-up after, and how long does it take to get an actual pre-approved client out? Of your pre-approvals, how many go under contract? The ones that are contract, how many close? That is the loan officer's job, because that's a full funnel, and you can track anything in between that and really dissect it out. But then you're going to notice that you don't need more leads. You probably just need to convert the ones you have better. And in order to do that, it's not, oh, I need better leads, or I need this, or I need that. It's like, why aren't they converting? At each step of my flow, why aren't they converting? Got it. So then I need to take this part of my process. And then you'll start noticing, well, in order to do that, that's going to take this much time. Delegate. Now you know the ops that you actually need, because you know where you're losing people, where you're spending your time. It's not active getting you business. And now you know, ooh, I need an LA. Ooh, I need a processor. Or man, I really am in these closings. I need a closing. Like, that is how you start finding what type of operational support you need. For us, we have set up, we disclose, we lock, we submit, we process, we do the closing package for you, we do the work on the fires that are coming up, and that's where you jump into those.
So good, so good. When do you think in your life or through this career where you realized, when was the aha moment that understanding and tracking your data would have a lot to do with your result?
I would say it was probably 2019. I was talking to a guy. He was a loan officer, got 80, 90 million that year, which back then was more than it is today. The loan amounts were a lot smaller. So, 2018, 2019, I'm talking to this guy, and I said, I'm doing these mailers. And he said, that's awesome. How many people call? And I said, well, I have this many people that called. He goes, awesome. He goes, what percentage of that is your mailers? And I said, I don't know. I don't know. I dropped 50,000, this many people called. He goes, cool. He goes, of the ones that called, how many did you get an app from? And I said, I don't know. And he goes, right. He goes, you're not tracking anything. He goes, you're just dropping mailers and then hoping that you get it in. Because I was telling him, like, I need more money to drop more mailers. He goes, you don't need to drop more mailers. You need to track the ones you have. And I doubled my closings from it, because I would take the lead, and this guy calling in on a refi, or this lady calling in on a refi, whatever, and I would just sell them everything up front. Like, I didn't get off the phone until they were in underwriting, but I missed the other 4 calls.
Right.
So I wasn't tracking my funnel because I didn't have a process. It was just, I'm going to get on the phone with you. So then I started hiring people to actually take those calls with me. And I would have the initial, I'd go, great, I'm going to pass you over to Sydney or Amanda or whomever it was at the time. They're going to go over the next steps with you. And then I still didn't break off the call, but then I could get on the next one. And I doubled my closings the next month. So, that I think is when I really started tracking. And then I just carried that over to purchase.
Wow. What's next in technology and building added value for Grow Mortgage? Like, I know your mind's thinking, I know you're a tech guy. I mean, we just recently had a conversation in AIM Fuse about AI, and I know you're big on creating more AI. What's next for Grow Mortgage as far as technology?
Yeah. So everybody asks me that I talk to, what tech stack to get. They're like, what tech stack do you use? What should I get? Like, it goes back to why I can't tell people what inputs to put in, because it's going to be different for everyone. You have to look at delegation in two ways. You have a person that can do it, or can your technology do it? So for me, we got to the point where, because we're so different on wholesale, it just doesn't really exist on wholesale. We had to build all of our own technology. So we actually built out a CRM and a task management system, and all of this is all in-house software. And because we have that, we're implementing a lot of AI into it. So we trained our own LLM, our own large language model, in-house to make sure that it's secure. We make sure that that's in there. So a lot of AI is coming out on our technology platform. It's going to be insane. So like, one of the things the other day, I logged into it, and it tracks like all of your daily actions that you do. And it told me that I convert Keller Williams agents, or I'm sorry, I convert EXP agents 32% higher with a certain offer that I send than I do Keller Williams agents. And it asked me if I wanted to redirect one of the campaigns that I have, take the Keller Williams agents out and switch them with EXP, and it raised my conversion. Another thing that we're doing is we got the API for the AMI limits across the nation. And now it checks like, hey, would you still qualify if you don't have overtime in here? If so, you can restructure this as home possible or first-time home buyer below 100% AMI. Click here to make the change and save your borrower $8,000, because loan officers don't check that stuff. No. So a lot of sales-driven things. We've also got it with some OCR technology where it's starting to read condition sheets and then import in the conditions in plain language, and then the processor can go from there. So ease of use, and really just making sure that their time is spent in highest leverage possible, whether you're a loan officer, whether you're operations support, really using the AI as an assistant, not as a replacement. But there's certain things you just can't delegate. You have to have people for them. We just want to make sure that those are the things that the people are doing, and that our technology can do absolutely everything else to better support them.
Yeah. Yeah. I think everybody wants to know kind of the story. So officially Grow Mortgage opens when?
February 2nd, 2022, 2/2/22, we got our LLC.
2/2/22?
Yeah.
Okay.
Not on purpose.
Okay, not on purpose. And then today, what states are you primarily in, and how many LOs do you have?
So we have,
recruited to?
Yes, we haven't. We have never recruited a loan officer. We actually haven't even started scaling the company yet. So for the past 2.5 years, all we have done is build the foundation of growth. That's it. We have not recruited. We haven't scaled. Nothing. We're starting towards the end of this year to grow it, but all I've been focused on is foundation. How do I make sure that we can build this thing to the top when we do start scaling? Because I want to make the mistakes while we're small rather than making them while we're big, because it's easier to steer a small ship. But we've got right at 30 loan officers. We just onboarded another gentleman today. We're very picky though. I mean, we get about 40 people a month that book calls to join the company. We won't even get on the call unless you're closing 10 million a year. We won't even interview.
Oh, your music to my ears.
So okay, all good. That way, if you join and do not consistently hit that, you're put into a group we call Future Top Originators, and then we try and make sure that you have everything you need to get you back turned around. And if not, we help you find somewhere that is going to be a good fit to get you there. We want to make sure it's a good fit both ways. Same way I approach real estate meetings. I have to make sure you're a good partner for me, whether you close or not. Are you willing to grow with it? Like, we brought on loan officers. We had one gentleman that joined us. He closed $3 million, I think, in June or July in that 1 month. He joined in January. He was only doing 0 to 1 loans a month. Did 3 million then. I think he's going to do 3 million in October as well. So, and you're talking about $300,000-$400,000 loan amounts. So it depends. We have another loan officer that joined us in January. She's our top originator now. Super proud of her. She was doing 4 to 5 units a month. She's doing 14 units this month. I think she already has 8 or 9 for October. So we just get them out of all the stuff that's not getting them business and then point them in the right direction. So that's what we do. But right at 30 loan officers, we've got just over 115 active files right now. I mean, we're definitely, high units per LO, but we only hire quality originators. So the goal is to always stay below 100 to 120 loan officers, because I want to be able to have a direct impact on them. I can't do that at 5,000. But if I have 100 to 120 loan officers, each doing 5 to 7 loans a month, I'm fine with it. So we never want to be the platform that's 1,000 or 2,000 loan officers. Want to be very, very niched in on what we have. We also don't do any lead buy yet. We don't do any sort of like consumer direct type of marketing. It's all organic outside sales, old school outside sales is all we do. We have $0 in the marketing budget, $0 in the recruiting budget. We've only ever recruited one person. It'd be 6 months to get her. So, and she's not even in sales, she's in ops. But That's kind of the vision, is continue to build this foundation, make sure we're doing everything ironed out process-wise on paper, in writing, automating, getting the AI, getting the technology, then we'll start scaling. So we're probably going to start that on the end of this year, and then next year we'll start our growth plan.
Yeah, and Russell, you're still producing.
Yes. Yeah.
Right? Like, I want everybody to listen to that. He's got 30 loan officers. He's growing the company. He's working on the tech, and he's still producing, because the mistake I see a lot of owners make is they're like, no, I'm not going to produce anymore. I'm like, that is your secret sauce of still producing. And I love that you are. What does Grow Mortgage look like for you in 5 years?
So I have that vision. I've got it mapped out. I'm currently working on Q3 2026. So this quarter was already done before we started the company. I can just back on the sheet like this month. Will be the action. So very on like what daily actions, break it out. We pivot a little bit, but for the most part, like right on track in that chair. And that's kind of like what we're building. I want to make a platform, software, process, everything that's just easy, that makes the process repeatable, makes it where every borrower that comes in gets the same, the same cadence and everything's followed. Obviously, it's not going to be perfect, but we're gonna strive for that every single day and get closer and closer to it. For my employees, whether you're ops, whether you're sales, I've told all of them, I'm very open with them. I told them this in March. My goal is financial freedom for every single one of them. The way that I define that is that they are not waking up thinking about money. That if they were to, quit and have something come up in their life, they aren't worried about it. They can handle it. Now, are they going to be multi-millionaires? Probably not. But are they going to be worried about money? Are they going to be worried about school supplies? Are they going to be worried about how? No. I want all of them financially free. We will overpay for the people, but we want the same amount of value in return. So, we only hire the best, not just in sales, but in operations. Like, you can call anybody in my company, ask them how our operations people are. Everybody here is insanely good, and they get better every single day. So that culture is very important to us, of high producing, high quality people. We're very quality over quantity. And my goal is just financial freedom for them and for their clients.
I love that. Yeah, every year I go through with my employees a little financial checkup. I feel weird doing it. Yet I've watched some of my loan officers. Some of my loan officers been with me since 06. So I've watched them literally grow into multimillionaires. So don't say that lightly, because it will happen for you, because you are doing that for sure. Favorite hobby?
Jiu-jitsu. I do jiu-jitsu, really? MMA. I'm doing it for you. Yep.
All right. Well, I'm glad I didn't tackle you the other day. You would have chokehold me and knocked me out.
Yeah, that's all I do. I do jiu-jitsu, I do mortgages, and then I go home. That's 7 days a week, every single day. That's literally 2 things I do.
Favorite vacation spot?
I haven't been on one since I was 14 years old. No, I have office.
So Russell, you got to take a vacation.
Every day.
I'm writing this down. Russell vacation. If you had to go on vacation, Russell, just to clear your brain, to even grab more things, because I think I was like you. I feel like I'm looking at you, right? I look at myself right now. But where would you go?
Shoot, I don't know. Some kind of
you wouldn't even know, would you?
No. I mean, somewhere I can go learn how to get better. Probably. If I am not working to get people better, I'm not doing it the right way. So that is the vacation for me. I'm able to do it with so many hours for so long. This is what I want to do. I don't want to be on a beach somewhere drinking my time. I don't drink. I'm very, very boring as a person. All I do is work and roll around mat.
That's all boring. If you had to do something over again that was a mistake that you made in the past, what would you tell everybody that's either starting in the business or opening their new company? What would you tell them to do first that maybe you wish someone would have given you that advice?
Find mentors is probably the most important thing I can tell you. You are not smart enough to figure it out on your own as quickly as you are to implement someone that's already been there. As much as you think you know everything and you can figure it out and it just needs to be this way, they probably have already thought of that, and there's a reason they're not doing it. Ask them why they're not doing it, and then figure that out. Find people who have been there, who have done that are way ahead of you, and go be around them. Go find a way to add value to them so that they can, help you, because they will give you the secrets if they see the tenacity, if they see that you want it, if they see that you're hungry, they'll bend over backwards to help you with it. You will go so much further, so much faster by just listening to them. Even if it doesn't sound like something that you would do, even if it's like, they've probably already been there and done that. Just listen to them. They've been right every single time that I had listened to, and I eventually just ended up doing what they said anyway.
That's such good advice. I always call myself, I'm a really good Xerox machine. Getting with these mentors and then just Xerox and go back and implement it. Russell, I'm proud of you. I'm so grateful for our beginning of our friendship and partnership with you. You have an amazing company. You have an amazing staff. They know their stuff. I feel like you are the one to watch. You are going to literally blow up just organically because what you have is what they want. And I don't care if you're a retail loan officer, a broker, or you're brand new. I know you don't hire brand new or it's not part of the plan yet, but I love it that you have a set target. Like I'm at 10 million. I'm at 4 loans. Me personally, I'm at 4 loans a month. And that's what it is with me. And if you're not at 4, then let's hope you get somewhere else. I just loved everything that you said. I think they're going to love, you guys appreciate listening to Coaching with Chris with Russell Petty because he is what the future of this market is. And I think you're going to get a lot of calls after this little podcast of saying, this is so cool. I hope that they don't all call you because I'm like, I need Russell Petty as my mentor.
Oh my goodness. No. Nobody needs that. But yeah, no, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me on. It's always nice to come on and talk to you. So I appreciate the time.
Yep. Thank you guys. Enjoy this podcast. Make sure you share it with your friends. Go to Apple or even Spotify to listen to this on the podcast. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Russell.
Thank you.